Okay, today I want to talk about bias and more importantly, what is an unconscious bias. Now, everyone is going to have a bias. Even the people who say that they don't have a bias, that's a bias. You have a bias to try and be unbiased. Like whether you're picking a side or trying to be in the middle of the road, all of us have a bias. And it's not about trying to not have a bias necessarily, but trying to be aware of it and more in control of it, or at the very least, um, be open about it. Now, I have told people in the comments before my other videos, just like, "Oh, you have a bias towards Tracer," and in Overwatch, like, yeah, that's true. I like Tracer's playstyle. I like Tracer's kit. I like the way it's designed. I also like the way that Genji's designed, Lucio's designed, Reinhardt, Winston, you know, and a plethora of other heroes in Overwatch. I have a bias towards those types of designs. Um, and I'm open about that. That's the kind of, game I like to see. I like the way that classic Overwatch felt more so than the 5v5 version we have today. And now there are people uh who still like the 5v5 today. And if that's just legitimately what they have more fun doing, I can't argue with them on that, right? So what what happens though is that with our bias and what we call an unconscious bias is one that you're not really aware of. You don't even understand how you've been influenced to sort of have an opinion or form an opinion before you even know enough about something. Such as my video where I was talking about how much I liked Overwatch's diverse cast and how the character designs just really stood out from one another, right? That had a very immediate reaction. And something like that from a lot of people were commenting before they even watched the video, admittedly. Like they just did not even watch the video and started commenting on it. And that is what an unconscious bias does to you. Like you form an opinion before trying something yourself, before forming your own opinion, right? And now, mind you, even though I'm talking about this now and like I'm aware of what an unconscious bias is, I still have it. I still have it all the time. When Marvel Rivals came out, it wasn't my idea to play it. It was a friend of mine. And he said, hey, he normally works nights and he's like, I have the day off that day. It's the same day that Marvel Rivals comes out. What do you say we give it a try? And I wasn't really interested, but I was like, what could it hurt? It's a free game. He's got the night off. Maybe we play it for a night or two and we stop there. And the reason why I had that bias is because of the fact that for me growing up, anytime you would ever see Marvel or some sort of existing IP attached to something for video games, they were typically crappy. Um, they were always like quick cash grabs to uh, try and sucker in the fans to, buy into it and then regret their mistake and then, just make a quick buck off of people's ignorance, right? Because those companies would want to make a game off of IPs, but they never want to spend the money on them, right? A good example that comes to mind is like Superman 64, like that mess. Um, so I had naturally had a bias against it, and I wasn't feeling open to try it. But it was because of the fact that my friend asked me to play that I gave it a shot and realized I was like, oh my god, I was wrong about this game. It is actually a lot of fun, and that's what I mean. Is like even when you're aware of it, you can still be influenced to form opinions about stuff before you even give it a try. Or for things that you might actually enjoy, you might like. Um, and this is also true for content creators and streamers and stuff like that, and tier lists and whatnot. People have formed opinions on the Marvel heroes before, or Marvel Rivals heroes before even really taking the time to get to know like what their strengths are and how they fully interact with every character and every ultimate and every ability, right? Um, Here's a good example. Friends just linked me in the chat of Rocket and how his ult actually counters Luna ult.
Target, oh, Psylocke is just absolutely demolishing me.
To put on a show.
Penny's low.
This is real firepower!
God, Psylocke did so much damage to me.
That is the one benefit of playing
How did they
Rocket
get
that I
there
feel
so
like people
fast?
don't talk about.
They probably
Is that when you
well,
have Rocket ult and they do something like a Luna
No
Snow
way,
or a
man.
Mantis, you can out damage their healing. Even the AoE, you can out damage their healing.
So this is what I mean. There are so many people that we've seen online that have this negative reaction to my friend playing Rocket, and him and I and my other friend that we play with know that when Rocket throws down his ult and they see Luna ult, it doesn't mean stop attacking. It means go harder. It means put in everything that you got. Especially because now Luna is basically like she's a big AOE heal bot that you can't do anything for 12 seconds. But if you Rocket ult, then she can't do anything, and you can still technically damage through that. So she's locked out of her abilities as well. But yeah, everybody's tier list and everybody else online is already being like, oh, like you have to have, you have to have Luna and Mantis. You can't have Rocket, or it has to be 2-2-2. Like, there's been games that we've won, plenty of games that we've won with 3 DPS and 1 tank, and there's games that we've won with 2-2-2. There's games where we've won with a single support. Like, you don't know necessarily what's going to happen, but people have this bias already of saying like this is the way it needs to be, and that's formed a lot of times through watching content creators sort of discover the meta or discover what works. But the problem is that that leaves a lot of us closed minded to trying things. I'm sure a lot of people have probably already heard of Team Captain, right?
C tier. He needs a buff. Maybe C minus. He needs a buff.
Wolverine. Terrible.
Scarlet. Okay.
Everybody was crapping on Wolverine. Everybody was talking about how terrible Wolverine was. And truth is, people just didn't know how to play him. People didn't understand how his attacks worked or what the damage was like, or how it was calculated. So a lot of people formed opinions early until Team Captain was like, no, 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 I'm going to show you how to do this. But the thing is like most people, how many people do you think didn't bother to learn Wolverine thinking to themselves, oh, this hero is terrible, I should just not play them at all, right? Even if they liked their place, even if they would have liked his kit and his play style, wouldn't have given him a shot because of the fact that you have streamers making tier lists saying, all of these heroes down here are, bad, terrible. When in all actuality, depending on like the rank that you play in, this might not be true. And also, I see Iron Man down here, which is definitely not the case anymore, right? So, I understand that a lot of these people, this is their own personal opinion. They're creating these tier lists as their own personal opinion of, uh, what it's like in their games and what they've experienced. But the thing is like these players, they're going to be playing an entirely different game than 97% of everybody else, right? So you can absolutely make those C and D tier characters work at whatever, rank you're probably at if you know how to play them really well. But there's a lot of people who jump onto YouTube videos and see their favorite creators making these lists and then forming opinions about stuff when in all actuality, uh for your rank that might not be true in terms of like what would be a good tier list. And also it might just be that people haven't fully discovered how to fully utilize that kit. Another example that comes to mind is back in the day when I played League of Legends. I was never very good at it, but I remember when I was first trying it out because I thought I might try to work at Riot or something one day. um I remember playing, and my first character I played was Leona. That was like one of the free champions of the week. Then I was playing that, and I liked that, and I was like, okay. But then I remember getting my butt kicked by this character named LeBlanc, and I didn't understand how her kit worked. So I got her, and I started playing her, and I was like, oh my goodness, like I love this character. And at the time, I remember people thinking that she was a terrible character, that she was just an awful hero. And now people who know League of Legends know that that is an absolutely crazy thing to say. Back then, this was season two, and season two was like a Gragas meta, and everyone was playing Gragas. Everyone was, he's like, oh, he's the OP one, he's a super powerful one, and a lot of people at the time didn't understand LeBlanc's kit because she was so just like under the radar. And I just kept playing her because I had so much fun playing her and I was doing well with her and I was learning to get better at her. And I just got really freaking good at this one hero, which is kind of like my MO. I pick one hero, get really freaking good at that one, and then I just don't really want to switch. And then season three comes along, season three, season four, something like that. And Faker makes her famous. It's like, wow, like it is a must ban against Faker because of the fact that he literally cannot be stopped on this hero. And then all of a sudden, in every one of my games, this character who before was just absolutely crap to everyone else is suddenly a must ban of every single game, despite the fact that she's one of those characters that's like Tracer, that you can't just pick her up and play her. But the problem is in League of Legends, there's like 100 different heroes, right? You know, the odds of somebody being on either team that like specializes in that one hero on a 5v5 game is pretty slim. But nonetheless, for a long time, my hero was banned in almost every single game, all because of the fact that these streamers, these pro players, made her famous. They made her well known. And now they're just like, everyone's opinion is like, oh, I was getting shit for so long about how bad that character was and how it's a throw pick if I play her. That now all of a sudden in the very next season, it's I'm throwing if I don't ban her. Um, and that's what I mean is it's like all of these people are who are forming these opinions and dishing them out to the public, like they are giving you opinions before you even have a chance to decide on your own what's strong or what isn't. They are and I understand why they're doing it. It's not to manipulate you. It's not to, there's no ill intent here. I do think some of it is just like farming content. Like these are content creators. This is their job. Sure, they're going to want to give stuff out there for it. But like at the end of the day, I've seen a lot of people take characters in games that, were considered not very good, but play them because they loved them and found a way to make them work, found a way to, uh, provide value in ways that people didn't think of. And that's what I want people to do more of is like take all of these videos, even my videos, with a grain of salt. Like, I'm not speaking in absolutes here, right? This is why I don't talk about tier lists and why I don't talk about like, what's strong or what's weak, whatnot. It's just like I'm only talking about design and fun and what's fun for everybody, like what's fun for players and what and like, the learning experience and improving and whatnot. Cause truth is, if we talk about tier lists, like in Overwatch, for instance, a tier list, a lot of people would put Moira as a D tier support um, to play in your games in high elo, right? But if you're playing in diamond and below, uh, you can absolutely make Moira work. 100%, you can make Moira work, and you can still make her work up in the high ranks as well. There's still a few Moira one tricks that have their own YouTube channels and stuff for the stuff that they do, and they have crazy text and stuff that I've seen them do that I've never even thought of, which is amazing, right? So that's why I want you to always sort of try and be open to new ideas. Be open to trying things. Be open to forming your own opinion. It's not a bad idea if you have like a content creator that you resonate with, um, that you find that you have a similar play style to, right? Like if you really like tank characters and you're watching Emong or something, like that makes sense. You can take his information and you can say, okay, I'm going to use this as like my jumping point, but I'm not going to let it form my opinion completely. I'm going to try this stuff out myself. I'm going to give it some time. Because at the end of the day, all of these things are just opinions. Everything that we have on the internet here, everything we share on YouTube, everybody sharing their, what they have to say online is just, it's all just opinions, right? But you still have your own. Even if you find that you agree with a lot of the stuff that I say, there's going to be times that you disagree with me, and that's okay, and that's a good thing. Like, I don't want you to listen and take everything I say as gospel because there's a very good possibility I could be wrong, or I could just have different taste than whatever it is that you like, and that's perfectly okay. Um, but yeah, this is also why, like, I don't, I don't really listen to like video game uh reviews and stuff like that either. Like I'll look to see if the general consensus of a game is good or not before I might get into it, but um I'm not looking at like number scores and stuff either because of the fact that uh I might have talked about it in past videos, but like one of my favorite games when I was younger was Monster Hunter on the PlayStation 2. I know this game was clunky, it wasn't super great. You didn't attack with buttons, you attacked with the right analog stick. It was really strange. But it had a really solid idea. It was a really cool idea, but, like, the critics were giving it a 68. Um, Users gave it a 7.5, and I think, like, that was because PlayStation internet connectivity was weird and wonky back then back in the day, and it kinda required it. But it had good potential, and now Monster Hunter, for those who know, is, like, one of Capcom's biggest series. Like, it just they just keep making games and people keep buying them. And I'm one of those people, right? But if I would have listened to the critics and been like, "You know what? It's only got a 68. That doesn't seem very good. Like, why would I spend my money on this game?" Like, this is a game that I have played, I think, almost every single Monster Hunter that's come out since. Um, because at the end of the day, this game might not have been for you know, uh, every reviewer out there. It might not be for everybody. And that's why I say like a successful game is one that reaches its audience and, and makes them happy. For Monster Hunter, I was that type of audience and it fit me and I was extremely happy with it. And I would have given this game like a 9 out of 10 or something if I just did ignored the internet connecting issues with the PlayStation 2, just on the design alone, like I would have given it like a 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10 for the time, something like that, something high. Because that's what it is to me. And that's also for a lot of people, like, you have to take a lot of things into consideration, like how much money is it? Is it the type of game I like to play? Is it the experience? Because there's been times that I've seen games that were reviewed poorly, but it was like a $10 indie game for like a 2-hour experience or something. And they're just like, "Oh, it's really short." It's like, "Well, of course it's short. It's a 2-hour indie game. Like that's what I know I'm paying for." Um, but yeah, like, everything comes, with sort of context in mind and understanding that at the end of the day, everybody online for all these reviewers that you're seeing, unless you have a specific reviewer that has similar taste to you, like don't listen to what everybody has to say and say that this is absolute truth. This is the way it has to be. Like, if you see someone picking a low hero or a low tier hero in your Marvel Rivals games, uh, don't jump to an immediate conclusion of, oh, this person's throwing, or oh, this person wants to, is just giving up at the start, or they're tossing the game. The same for Overwatch or any competitive game. If you see an unconventional pick, wait and see. They might pop off. They might do really good at it. But it's only understandable that like uh, that you give them the opportunity to prove themselves, right? Because just like me, for all the heroes that I play and all the times that I was told that I was playing a garbage hero and then I should switch off and I should switch to the meta picks or whatnot, uh, I would always, do my best to prove people wrong, to blow them out of the water and be like, look, like I've spent many hours on this one hero and you would much rather have me with 500 hours on this one hero than trying to transfer those hours, to the other hero I've spent like, 8 hours on. Like you're going to want me on this one. I know the ins and out of this one character and how they interact with every other character. Like I can make it work. Um so yeah, you know, that's what an unconscious bias is. That's how we can be influenced by our media and YouTube and everything else we surround ourselves with. Like, when you start to form an opinion before you've even really tried something, that's what an unconscious bias is. So just try to do your best to sort of keep it in check. And also at the same time, um, remember that content creators are making content. They want to keep you engaged. They want to have you, give you something to watch, and it's understandable why they do that. But also at the same time, remember that's their opinion. You know, uh, you should these are video games, and video games are very much a personal preference, and, people can discover new ways to play characters themselves, and so take everything that they say when it comes to the subjects of video games with a huge grain of salt. Everybody on the internet when it comes to video games, all the reviewers, all the content creators, when it comes to saying like, oh, this when they say this game is good, or this game is crap, this game is whatever, like that's their opinion, right? Make sure that you don't just latch on to that one and become the part of the bandwagon, either jumping on a game to break it down, or knock it down even farther just because you've heard your favorite reviewer say something online, or jumping on the bandwagon to say that one game is better than the other, when all at the end of the day, like, it's all going to come down to personal preference. As much as I am liking Marvel Rivals right now, there's still people who like Overwatch 5v5 at the moment, and they like it better than Marvel Rivals, and that is just a personal preference, and that is totally valid. And any stuff going forward, even for my videos, even for my opinions, I hope they bring some insight. I hope it makes you think. But even then, at the end of the day, I never want you to take my opinions as gospel. And I would like you to, I would hopefully like to influence you to uh, be encouraged to experiment in your games, to try funny things in your games, or to focus and remember on the fact that it is about having fun, and it is just about um, finding your own way to play. Because even before tier lists came out, I hopped into Marvel Rivals and I played all the characters. And the moment I picked up Psylocke, I was like, "This is the one." It just feels right to me. This is the one for me. Uh, and that's how I like to play my games, and that's why I want you to as well. Even if someone says that your hero is a D tier, you know, be like Team Captain and prove to them, prove to everyone why that hero is a secret sleeper pick. So yeah, when it comes to video games, like at the end of the day, these are all just opinions. Your favorite content creators, your streamers, your reviewing websites, they're all just opinions. It's not a bad idea to get a gauge as to whether or not it might be good, might be bad, but the best way to tell for sure for games, just like I learned with Marvel Rivals, is you have to sit down and play it for yourself to know. That's the way you'll know for sure. Uh, but always try to keep an open mind. Keep an open mind to trying new games, keep an open mind to new types of characters you might see, keep an open mind to new skins, an open mind to new play styles. Uh, Games are about play, and they're about experimenting and trying things, and seeing what new things you can do with the tools that you've been given. I don't want us to lose sight of that, and stick to this hard meta idea because this is what my favorite, content creators say. Like, the game that they play and the top 0.1% of players is going to be entirely different than the game that you play. So figure out how to play the game that you play while they work on the game that they play.